What's the storyline that we're not asking you about that you actually think is like the most interesting storyline in this quote unquote off season?
Well, in the big picture, it's not a sexy football headline, but there's going to be some discussions here at the spring meeting about private equity investment in NFL teams, which, you look at the way that franchise valuations have gone in recent years. The NFL has always had sort of a short list of here's the pre-approved potential owners, and they can go to that. And they've always had rules in place that, in essence, one person, you can have minority partners, but it's got to be one person who owns the team. That creates a very limited number of bidders. It's kind of like the media deals where for years they had 3 or 4 TV networks that would bid, and you were kind of limited to what those networks were willing to pay. Well, now, why is the NFL selling to Amazon and to Netflix and whoever else they're going to, come up with in the coming years here? Because all of a sudden you've got 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 different streaming services that all look at live sports as one of the only things that people will actually tune in and subscribe for. Let's figure it out. If we're Peacock, how do we put a game there? And how do we use that to our advantage? It's the same thing with the idea of private equity. If you only had a handful of these pre-approved singular owners who have the money to create the stability within the organization that the NFL has long wanted, now all of a sudden, if you've got private equity groups, you've got these high net individuals who can pool their resources together and invest in a team. That's a pretty good way to drive the valuations up, because then you're talking about crazy money and it doesn't have to come from just one person. The drawbacks of that, like everything when we talk about a private equity investment, is it does destabilize what's been a really successful system for the NFL. You're talking about bringing in a lot of different people. They've got a lot of other investments here. It's not the same system that it has been in the past. So, there's probably going to be some owners who are forward thinking on this and just see how do we continue to skyrocket revenue and franchise valuations. The Jerry Joneses of the world. I haven't talked to Jerry, but I would imagine he's sitting there going, we can take the franchise valuations from 5 to 7 billion to 15 to 20 billion just by doing this. Why in the world would we not do that? And you're going to have some other owners, the ones whose families own the team for years, who have always abided by these fairly strict guidelines here, are going to say, whoa, 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 we're prioritizing the wrong thing. So an interesting conversation that's going to take place here at the league meeting. And we'll see what else takes place in the coming days. We'll have it all again, Suzy. The Insiders back in primetime, 7 p.m. Eastern time every weeknight, starting tonight on NFL
Fantastic
Network.
plug.
Wait, Tom, real quick about the private equity and ownership shares and all that. Is anyone in the league, whether they're on the team side or on the reporter side, are you guys talking about what's going on with the Timberwolves and Glenn Taylor and A-Rod and Mark Lowry? Is that something that you could see possibly happening with an NFL team in the future, where there's just confusion and almost like a take backsies on a sale?
Well, that's exactly it. There's a lot of layers to that one. But
Sure.
Part of it is, Glenn Taylor looks and says, well, the franchise valuations have gone way up. You were getting a sweetheart deal. I don't want to do that. But it was also, at least in Glenn Taylor's telling of this, that they had all these different private equity partners, all these different financiers. They didn't have the money when Glenn says that they were supposed to pay it. A-Rod and Mark Lowry claim that they did. They just, they had moving deadlines and all this stuff. But that's exactly the type of confusion here. I mean, right now, who owns teams. Like if you go down the NFL, even if you're not thinking off the top of your head, you probably know who owns most of the teams. All of a sudden, then, if it's this conglomerate owns the team, and then, some other businesses that are involved with that conglomerate go south, and now what happens to the teams? I mean, these rules were created at a time where the NFL was not the $20 billion a year industry that it is now, but it was all created that you didn't want to have all these other people involved. You had to have one person who owned X percentage of the team to make sure that person had the financial backing, that there was no chance the team was going to go out of business. No NFL team is going to go out of business, but if you have other financial challenges, and if you have some of the issues that other industries have experienced with private equity, including the media industry, where at some point you have high net worth individuals who are used to getting dividends and getting paid out off the investment. That's not how the NFL works.
Right.
You eventually get paid back. You either sell your shares or you get paid when the team gets sold, which might be years and years down the line. It will just introduce different dynamics than the NFL has seen before. And absolutely, if you're an owner who wants to push back, if you're Mike Brown, who votes no on pretty much everything in the world, you can point to the Timberwolves situation and go, this is exactly what we don't want to have here. Although I do appreciate the chutzpah of Alex Rodriguez to continue to show up front row, courtside seats, cheering on the team, and
well,
still
he does own like 31% of the team or something,
No,
right?
I know,
mean, he's still entitled to do that. Yeah.
He does, but there was a very awkward moment of a hug after the game last night on the court. I don't know if you saw it or not. We'll have to find the video. There was a moment they were like, oh, God, is Anthony Edwards actually wanting to hug him back or not? It was a little icky. I'm not going to lie. It was a little icky.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.